Professor Hansen, the many Silk Road trade routes linked China to countries such as Rome, India, Central Asia, Iran, Japan, and Korea.
And what other forms of ball games throughout the world could have their origins in Cuju?
I think the clearest example is in Japan, the game of kemari, and then also in Malaysia, there's a modern game that's very similar. So those look like clear examples of the transmission of Cuju to other places. To me, the most obvious candidate for the transmission of this game from China into Europe would be the Mongol Empire in the 13th and 14th centuries, because the Mongols had conquered all of Eurasia, and there was a lot of contact, overland contact, across Eurasia.
Could Chinese Cuju have traveled to other countries through such foreign trade?
Yeah, I don't think that they were trading the balls per se, but I think when in all of this trade, if it's overland trade and also sea trade, there's long periods of time when people are sitting around, and overland trade, they're waiting for ice to melt, or they're waiting for the summer to end. In sea trade, they're waiting for the monsoon winds to come. So people are sitting around, traders from different countries, and that seems natural that they would see the games each other were playing and start playing them together.
Meanwhile, in China, Cuju had become a high-stakes sport. Winners of matches were gloriously celebrated. They were decorated with brocades, awarded silver trophies, and hailed as heroes. But those who lost, on the other hand, received only public humiliation. According to historical records, their faces were smeared with white powder before they were publicly flogged. An act that gave a whole new meaning to the term sore loser. Soon, Cuju's reputation as a sport of honor began to take a beating as well. By the Yuan dynasty, it had become an activity that some of society's less desirable elements took to, and with less than noble intentions.
Prostitutes, realizing the hold Cuju had on a young man, used the game to attract the attention of potential customers, and this might have caused its decline.
The Yuan dynasty play, Jin Qianji, showed how prostitutes would use Cuju as a ploy to get customers, a sordid association for a once noble sport. What had come to be seen as Cuju's corrupting hold also threatened the imperial administration. By the Ming dynasty, the sport had become a favorite pastime of the rich and elite. Court officials and royalty, intoxicated by Cuju and a lifestyle of drunken frivolity, began to neglect official duties. To prevent a complete breakdown in social order, the Ming government finally prohibited the game, and Cuju's popularity began to wane. Then, when the Manchurians invaded the Forbidden City in 1644 AD to rule as the Qing dynasty, Cuju was completely stamped out. The new Manchurian masters asserted their authority by wiping out any trace of Ming China, Cuju included.
What we know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, is that Cuju was the first soccer-like game in recorded history throughout the world. And it's also documented that Cuju did spread to Japan and Southeast Asia.
In this shrine in modern Japan, an ancient ball game, a variation of Cuju called kemari, is about to begin. Through Japan's early diplomatic ties with China, chuji was imported into Japanese culture centuries ago. Kemari features an elaborate costume and highly ritualistic pre-game preparations. This sport is similar to the baida style of chuji, in which players stand in a circle and keep the ball aloft while passing to each other. So close are the two sports, even the Japanese characters for Kemari and the Chinese characters for chuji are one and the same. Kemari is still important in Japan today as a ceremonial kickoff to each new year. When chuji reached the shores of countries in Southeast Asia, it is argued that the game was modified into sepak takraw. This fast-paced, acrobatic game still bears some of the hallmarks of traditional chuji and is today one of the region's most popular sports. Mr. Halim Kadir is the president of the Sepak Takraw Association in Singapore and has a clear grasp of the game and its history.
Sepak means kick, takraw means the ball. So sepak takraw. This is a game where you use your leg, use your head, you cannot use your hand. The game being played by 3-by-3, but each set you must win. The ended point is 21 points. You will see in the game of sepak takraw, the feeder play a very important part to pass the ball to the striker who hit the ball. The server is very important because you must serve the ball to your opponent. So a combination of striker, server and feeder are very, very important in the game of sepak takraw.
The similarities between chuji and sepak takraw is evident not just in the rules of play, but even in the layout of the court and techniques used.
The combination of Suzhou have traveled from China, go down to the island and nearby country and make the flavor of the game of sepak takraw, which also originated from Nusantara, be part of the combination ingredient to make sepak takraw. So I can say that if we can put all together, you can see that sepak takraw was also originated from China those days.
Ironically, even as chuji makes a comeback in China, the sport it spawned, sepak takraw, flourishes in Southeast Asia and is also gaining interest in the rest of the world. Ancient chuji was lost to the Chinese for several hundreds of years. But China's status as an Olympic nation has stirred up renewed interest in sport. As China looks for glory in the international sporting arena, chuji has inadvertently become an unexpected beneficiary. The steady rise of chuji in China is in no small way the result of concerted efforts by its die-hard fans, including officials in the city of Linzi, the epicenter of the modern chuji movement. With increasing interest in the sport, chuji-related businesses are also growing.
杨先生，他们现在就是在做。
现在在缝制是吧？首先需要就是把这个牛皮裁下来，裁下来以后裁成这样一个就是4片的，4片以后，然后是在里边开始缝制。缝制的时候，里面首先要就是附上这样一层，然后是保持它的强度。
哦，就是保持它的硬度，对吗？
对，保持它的硬度。然后在里边首先要用就是细的线来把它缝制起来，然后在外边再衬一个这样的就是一个白的皮条，古代有一个白的皮条嘛。
这个边线缝的看不出来哪里是最后的那个。
这个也是我们最有难度的。一般的就是人看的话，这个 外边是哪是最后一针很难看出来。
对对对，
这个也是我们就是技术含量最高的一针，由专业来负责。
那这里面是填充什么呢？
这种是填充